have not done a sit-down video for a while. In case you didn't see my video last week, I am now at university, hence the different background. But I have been promising for about 2 weeks now that I would go through with you guys the questions that I was asked at the cultural exchange programme pre-screen interviews that were now a couple of weeks ago. They were just over 2 weeks ago. People have found out whether they are in or not, and as of today that I'm making it, which is the Monday, and you guys are obviously going to see it on the Tuesday, I have not found out yet, as alumni are currently having their rehire status checked, which basically means if you've done the programme before, they are going to look at your previous record card and things like how many points you have, if you have any reprimands, and possibly the 4 keys cards I think they look at, or they at least take into consideration. It may be something as a pointer if you do have quite a few reprimands. The chances of you getting through is probably a little bit more unlikely than those that don't, just because they do consider those. So if you do get to do the programme and you are wanting to do it again, just maybe consider that and don't ruin your chances, maybe if you're wanting to do the programme again in a couple of years or in a year's time or whatever. So that currently is where I'm at. I do not know whether I am through or not yet. If I am, it will be moving on to the final interview process or stage, which I definitely will go through with you guys. And if not, then that would be the end of that one, and we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Hopefully I do just get through, and that would be really exciting, because I would be super excited to do it again. Hey guys, so I'm just going to add a little bit in there. It is Tuesday today, so I am uploading the video as we speak, but I would just like to let you all know that I did actually get through to the final interview, and the slight difference this year, which is quite a weird experience for me as well, is that if you are an alumni, you actually don't have to go to the final interview. Instead, we are doing a video call, because they have already met us before, and we have obviously done the programme before, so from what I found out, it is just, again, sort of, they're asking us questions on what our motivation and things is for the actual programme itself. So I'm extremely excited and very lucky to have got to this stage, so I will definitely do another video after my video call interview to let you guys know what it was like in case you are an alumni who is applying next year perhaps. Yeah, I'm really excited, and again congrats to anybody that has got in who is also going to the final interview. Good luck, and I hope to see you all in Disney. But for you guys, if you are considering doing the pre-screen at a later date, obviously the applications for this year's are closed now, as many people have found out. But if you would like to do it again, then this is the most up-to-date of the pre-screens for the cultural exchange programme, and I'm going to go through questions that I specifically received. Depending on who you got, I had Anna this year, and they will ask slightly different questions. I know some of my friends had different questions to me, and I actually found it a lot harder this year. Not only for being an alumni, but the questions were a little bit harder than I have found previously, so it might be useful for you guys to know sort of what things you're going to get asked, just so you can prep for future. So I do have the ones that I can remember. It is a bit of a blur when you come out of it. One of them I just really can remember because I hated my answer, and I didn't think it was strong enough, but I will go through what I can remember, and I've put some in that I either think we were asked or that were very similar to ones that we were asked, because as I say, just some of it I just cannot remember, and I actually don't think we were asked as many questions this time. I think just because a lot of us gave some really good answers, and there was 6 or 7, there was 7 of us, no that's a lie, 4, 5, yeah there was 7 of us in this one particular group, and if everybody's talking for 2 minutes it can take up quite a lot of time, so there weren't many questions asked, just because I think we all gave some quite detailed answers, so I will go through them with you, and in the best order that I possibly can from what I can sort of remember. So firstly, we were split into a 2 and a 2 and a 3. I was in a 3, and we were just asked to find out the person next to you, what their name was, what university they went to, what their favourite Disney memory was, and the most interesting fact about them. So I'll answer that one for you. Obviously my name is Hayley. If most of you don't know, you probably don't, but my name is Hayley. I go to Northumbria University in Newcastle, My favourite Disney memory, I said, was when I was little. I went to the Not So Scary Halloween party, and I was dressed up as Cruella because I think I was about 7, so I was allowed to dress up at this point. And Cruella saw me in the parade and said that she really liked my outfit. It's just something that's sort of stuck in my mind because there's a lot of things I can't remember from going to Walt Disney World as a child, but that one for some reason stuck in my brain. And I also then said my interesting fact, if you guys would like to take a guess, is that I am a Disney YouTuber. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and I love sharing my love of Disney with everybody, so that was what my interesting fact was. So come up with something good, like I said in my original pre-screen interview sort of prep video, just come up with something interesting about yourself, because they do remember it, and they did definitely jot something down from that. Whether that was what university I went to, I don't know, but they did definitely jot something down. So it's always good to have something that makes you stand out. So next, the question that I hated and was asked first, because they do go in a line or an order, I suppose, and they try to sort of mix it up so you're not always first or always last, just so that you have the opportunity to either come up with something original or not repeat what everybody else has said, kind of thing. On this particular question, I just happened to be asked first because I was at the end of the row. And you do sit in like a semicircle facing the person that's interviewing you. It's very informal. Obviously you still want to come up with some great answers, but she's so lovely that she's not intimidating. It's nice just to get to chat, but obviously you do want to present yourself as brilliantly as you can. So there is always that slight nerve, just because you want to make sure that you come up with best answers, and sometimes you come out of it and wish you'd said certain things. I know I'm a sucker for that. I always come out of interviews and then play over what I said and what I probably should have said. So hands up, I definitely didn't answer this question probably as well as some of my other colleagues did in this particular interview. The question was, because we all definitely are there because we love Disney, because why else would we be there? On a professional level, what would you like to gain out of this experience? Personally, I found this hard to think of, just because I've done it before, which seems an odd concept, but for some reason I just found it a lot harder to come up with an answer that was unique, but also really just suggested the skills that I really wanted to get out of it after I've already done it before, and so probably have those skills already, because I do think you can actually get a great experience out of this, not just working but also the independence of it is a really brilliant thing. I mean, you're living in another country, so it's always a great pointer, but for me personally, I found this quite difficult to answer just from doing it previously. So you guys might want to come up with some ideas for that, and on a professional level, what you would like to get out of this, because it's actually quite a good question. Obviously you are working there, but it's also something to put on your CV, so there's clearly going to be some form of professional gain from it. So that was the first one to think about. I did mention about magical moments, which I'm not 100% sure was related to the question, but on a gain for me, that is something that I'd really like to gain, and something I didn't maybe get as much of an experience of last year, and hence why I said it, because she did specifically ask me, as being the only alumni in the interview group, what is it I want to get out of it this time, and I said personally it's the magical moment side of it, that in the location that I was in, it wasn't as common to be able to make magical moments, and certainly in the role that I was in. So this year it would be a great experience to be able to make some more magical memories, because that is, for me, one of the things you obviously take away, and that's what cast members are there for. So that personally was my answer. Whether that was correct, I suppose I will find out. But if you can think of something, then that's great. Okay, I'm sure there was another question in between this and my next question that I'm going to say, but I can't quite remember what it was. Whether it was something to do with how you can make the Disney experience for guests. I think it could have been something along those lines, and what you would do, because I can definitely remember saying something along the lines of that I always want to strive and give 110%. And that's something that I really strive off in terms of my personal abilities, but I do always give 110%. And again, the thought of magical moments was brought up, so I think it definitely was something along those lines of how you're going to give every single guest you see that Disney experience that they can take away. I think that was the question that it was, but don't quote me on that because I can't 100% remember. If any of you guys are watching that did the same interview as me, please leave comments below and let me know what the questions were if I'm getting these totally wrong, because quite honestly I can't remember, it now all blurs into one. but I've just been so busy that I've not been able to do this video up until now. So I think it was something along those lines. So if you can think of ideas, I certainly know somebody else on the Monday had this question, so it's definitely something you might want to consider, and how you would provide that Disney experience that both you love and that you'd love to provide to guests. So that's one. This question I definitely can remember. So after we had the first two questions, we were then asked again to split into our groups, and this time it was a 4 and a 3. And on this occasion we were asked a scenario question, and for this you do always want to try and give a story. For this particular example, I'm afraid I found it quite difficult to provide a story for this, just because it was quite a safety related question, and if you don't know, something that you might want to include is that one of Disney's sort of slogans for cast members is that safety begins with me. Safety is their #1 concern. Obviously they have thousands of guests go through their parks, so it definitely is a concern for them. So the scenario that I was asked in my group of 3, it could actually have been 4, I think I probably had 4 in my group, was if you were a lifeguard, because that is one of the most popular roles for this year, and you had a guest come up to you and was asking for your help, how would you deal with this? Because as a lifeguard you unfortunately cannot leave your post. Obviously you have quite a high level of responsibility, and therefore you need to be checking the pool at all times. So obviously if a guest comes up to you, you don't want to be rude and ignore them, but you also want to make sure that you're helping them and still doing your job. So that was what we were asked and how we would deal with that. We obviously said that safety is a big thing, and we would hope that the guests that do come through the parks would understand this, especially if they were the ones that were in the pool. We also said that we would direct them to somebody that would be able to help, or direct them to a place where somebody is available to help, or if it was just simply a, where is this kind of scenario, we would point them in the direction as best as we could, but unfortunately have to explain that we would not be able to leave this post. So we thought about it in a very sensible way and made sure that our guests were going to be safe, because that obviously as a lifeguard is your #1 priority. The other group did get a different scenario, but for the life of me I cannot remember what that was. But obviously you're not going to know the scenario every time that they give you, so just always try to think of a story, but be sensible as well. Use your common sense, because most of the time your gut feeling is probably going to be correct, and obviously they're not expecting you to know the procedures that Disney will provide for you, because that comes with your training, so you really do just have to think in a common sense manner here, and I'm sure whatever you say is probably going to be correct. So don't worry too much about that, but if you can, think of a story. Okay, as I said, we took a long time to answer all of these questions, and definitely for the scenario one, she gives you 5 minutes sort of to go through it. It's also just so that she can gather her thoughts and jot down any information based on the questions you've already answered, because you do have to provide a passport photo and for them to stick on the front of a piece of paper that they keep, which they make all the notes based on what you've said in that interview. So you do need to make sure that you go with that, along with a copy of your passport. And they also get you at the beginning of the whole day to fill in a sheet with the different roles and which ones you would be willing to do. So basically this scenario opportunity gave 5 minutes to just quickly jot down all the information. So that is all I can remember in terms of the questions, except for a couple here that are just very basic, such as, do you have any tattoos and piercings? Disney are big on this. If you do have visible tattoos and piercings, it is likely you're going to be asked to cover them up, especially if, for example, they're on your wrists, you'll have to wear long sleeve t-shirts to make sure that they're covered up at all times. I know a lot of my friends did last year, so that is something to be aware of. If you do have tattoos and piercings, it does not mean that you can't do the programme, but you are limited to certain roles that you can and can't do, just because obviously you don't want guests to see certain tattoos, especially if you are dressed in a themed costume whereby the tattoo doesn't fit within that theming. So that is something to consider, but by no means will they kick you out of the programme for having tattoos and piercings, not at all. So that was definitely something that we were asked. And lastly, the question that they love to leave you with is, what character are you most like and why? And they do ask this every time I have done this, and I actually personally think it is a great question, and for me, I can now say, because I'll never be doing the programme again unfortunately due to graduating this coming year, but I said Bernard from The Rescuers. If you guys don't know who Bernard is, I definitely recommend watching that film because it is one of my favourites. It's quite an oldie and is probably about an hour and 15 minutes. Basically, I said that I'm like Bernard because he always tries to solve problems, and I love helping other people, and he always thinks logically before he acts to make sure that he has the best outcome. And as just a little extra, I also said that he is small because he is a mouse, and good things come in small packages like me because I am extremely small. So that was my answer, and other people came up with some great answers too. So they were the only questions that I was asked that I can remember. Again, if you guys were in my interview, please leave comments below and help me out just so that I can remember what questions I was asked, because I can't really remember for the life of me. So yeah, those were the questions that I was asked. In terms of the day itself, we arrived for exactly 9:15 as the email suggested, in Epping in Essex, which is the last tube stop on the Central line if you guys are interested and need to travel from London. It did not take very long, and even at that time it wasn't too busy because I actually missed all the rush hour traffic in terms of the commuters in the middle of London. So that for me personally is the way that I would go about it, and I stayed with my friend for the weekend if you saw my London vlog, and then went to the interview in Epping. It's quite a difficult building to catch. It is just a black door, and it does say Yummy Jobs on the side. It's just quite hard to see it. So we went in for 9:15, and the first thing that they do is go through a presentation to basically get you hyped up, to give you some more information about the cultural exchange programme, and also about the roles that are available, the fees that you have to pay beforehand, what the housing is like, and also the experience of those that work at Yummy Jobs, because the majority of them have done a Disney programme. And therefore it's great to find out some of their stories, and also those that are alumni. There was only 2 of us that were an alumni. One girl had done the academic exchange programme, and I was the alumni that had done the cultural exchange programme. So there actually weren't many alumni in my particular interview, but it's still a great way to meet other people that you might be in your interview with, especially if you've not involved in any group chats or anything beforehand, as I know some girls weren't. They then got us to fill in the sheet about which roles we would like to do, which we had to keep hold of for the actual interview itself. As I say, I had to give those to Anna at the beginning of the interview so she could see. We then also got split into our interviews. They just give you a sticker with a team name on. I believe mine was Sully, I think. Honestly, this whole day is like a blur to me right now. I think it was Sully that I was in, and I was actually the first interview group, so I was done pretty quickly because it's about 45 minutes the interview in total. So if you are not in the first interview group, you're very welcome to just wait with everybody else, and then you'll be called into your interview once the first set come out. As I say, it's very informal, but just to make sure you do go in formal attire. I never actually showed what I wore, even though I said I would in the previous pre-screen interview stage. I basically just wore a high-necked white sleeveless top, not like spaghetti strap sleeveless, thick strapped, but there was just no arms to it. It was a, what do you call those dresses? It was basically like a white skated top, so the bottom sort of fanned out, and then I just wore a khaki green pencil skirt and clear tights with some black shoes. I did go in flats, but there were a couple of people that were in heels, and that's again not a problem, and they're not going to look at you negatively. I just would recommend going in something that isn't too revealing. If you are wearing heels, maybe something a little bit longer, just so that you do look professional and presentable. But the day really is not that bad at all. It is tiring just because you are obviously on the ball all the time and making sure that you're smiling all the time, but it actually is a really fun day, and you get to meet some people that are just as excited as you for the cultural exchange programme. So I definitely recommend doing it if you are interested in the programme, and do not worry about the fact that you've got 2 interviews to do, because they're really not that bad. I certainly enjoyed myself, and hello to everybody that I did meet or got the chance to chat with. It was very nice to meet you all, and you all came up with some really great answers. Sorry to those who didn't get in if you have already found out and aren't an alumni, but good luck if you want to apply next year. I really hope you guys do get the chance to go to Disney. And that is it for this video. Next week I am back with a sort of tutorial, but it's more of just a look at the 2 Disney board games that I purchased on the last Disney trip that I went on in summer. Somebody had asked me to do this and I'm very happy to do so. And with that being said, if you do have any suggestions or you even have any questions that you would like to ask me, whether it's just about Disney in general, going to the theme parks, maybe the parks around the world because I have been to Disney Paris also, or anything to do with the CEP, then please leave a comment below and I will either answer them in the next video or I will do a Q&A, or I will just answer them below because I do love to help. So with that being said, I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye!